Yeah, I think it's very lazy to even answer the good afternoon. I know we're all. Thank you so much, Sylvia, for getting me here. I know it's really tough, and especially I feel so privileged speaking in the same dais as Poonam, Pandya sir, Dominic, and all the people who are the elite in the profession they've been doing. Uh, and I wish I can do justice to the time given to me. I think when we talk about sourcing, and especially the procurement part, we always feel this is one of the least important department in any of the organization we are working. And why I would say there is a real reason to it. When it comes to the core understanding of how we kind of execute any design, how we execute any project, we give so much of weightage getting, hiring the best of architects, of course, going for the best of design, and the so-called understanding that how we contribute to overall the environment, and then taking all the CSR part and the responsibility in mind. But then, where do we land? Literally. See, if you ask me literally, procurement is not that anyone's job. It is not that one person can do everything, he can procure everything. So there are basic concepts when we talk about, and I will take you through about the section which we normally follow. There are 4 things we normally do in terms of how we have a set up procurement team and sourcing team in an organization. First will be governance. In fact, I purposely chose not to have a slide because I know it is sometimes so boring to look at some numbers and some gyan on the slide, and we sometimes not even bother to look at. I know everything is available on the net, but then there are few things which is learned from my experience I thought I would share. So the first is governance. I think any organization, and of course, once it is done, I will be happy to answer some of the questions to make it more interactive. But then something which I feel can be shared is, how do we kind of, the spectrum works on the procurement part. The first is governance. So the governance is, what exactly we mean by it. For us, see, we would, every year we go back on the drawing board, on the boardroom, discuss about the new policies, new objectives, new targets in terms of how our business should grow. But when it comes to specific the procurement, I don't know, those who are sitting here into the similar field have redesigned their procurement policy every year. I don't think anyone has done that. But then the new technology, the new experiences, the new introduction of new material, the demand, I think everything is changing so rapidly, but then the policy remains similar. So the governance remains one of the key driver in terms of how we ensure our procurement things have been fulfilled for. And we will really have to put in some effort to make sure that it has changed into the requirement what we need to procure in our team. See, one part which is again the governance includes is the skill part, the training part. I think we have a set of people who do procurement, 2-3 people in the team, or in bigger organization, maybe a department position. But then when it comes to the specific requirement, I was just going through one presentation in the wood, and you talk about brick, you talk about other lighting requirements, you talk about other different design aspects. Believe me, none of the procurement managers will be aware, and it will be skillful to understand the specific requirement of an architect, to just see that exactly this is what is required, and this is what it is delivered. A small change in the ratio, it gives a huge difference in the cost and even the life cycle of that particular material, in terms of how it is maintained. So the skill part is missing, and I think that is where we possibly need to keep in mind that the training requirement has to be very specific. So the governance has to take care of that part. The second comes is the process. See, First thing is about governance in terms of how we're implementing and those processes, how they're executed below. Sometimes, and I don't know, it's more traditional to talk about what I'm saying here, it's just what I've seen around me, is that some of the people who are key people and who are only responsible to do some procurements, they are believed more than anyone else with whatever they know is best. Okay, you go back, these guys will help you. Right? I see some of the people raising again. I don't know, maybe relating to it. Yeah, so, but then we need to respect, of course, their experience. At the same time, they should be open enough to learn the new things which are coming in the market.
It's fine.
So it cannot be a rigid process which is followed so far. It has to be an adapting process which is evolving, which is keeping everyone's view together, and something which has been designed, which is more of a win-win to just not have the best of cost, but then even best of after sales as well, or after procurement and the life cycle cost of that particular product. Then it comes to people. So to governance, process, and people. People, of course, is just not about those people who are procuring. People is basically, I would relate to the suppliers. People, I will relate to the those who are involved in terms of designing everything which is to be delivered as a project. People are in terms of their feeling behind that sort of a project. So any specific project delivered has to come up with certain specific theme. We need to keep in mind those sentiments, those values, and those emotions, and to replicate the same enthusiasm. I think that is where we need to be a proper team to deliver a bigger project. Not that a person thinks only about the cost, the other one thinks only about the concept, the other guy thinks only about the design, and someone thinks that I want just only in 30 days to be delivered or 60 days to be delivered. So it has to be a win-win for all the parties in terms of understanding and bring a solution to the table. And that's what my understanding is about how we talk about the people, how people can be very, very useful in terms of delivering best procurement things. And the last pattern which we normally follow is about the enablers. Enablers are sometimes the systems, it's about the technologies, it's about the platforms we are using. It could be some e-procurement platforms, aggregator platforms, and some of those things which we have not even developed. People are just moving into the IoT. People are moving into that more of an artificial intelligence in terms of understanding the behavioral patterns. So everywhere we are using these new techniques, the bot system, But to me, I think we are still holding ourselves back in terms of allowing us to be free, open, transparent in how we are procuring. Believe me, the control will not go out of our hands. I am, of course, not a procurement manager in what I am doing, but then there are people who are working and helping me from procurement team. It's about 3 days before I was told by Sylvia that I have to speak on the material matters, and I was just thinking that what sort of a presentation is expected out of me, and I was very clear then. Okay, I will just share about my experience. This is how it happens for procurement also. Someone decides the design and it give to the procurement team, okay, I want this in next 30 days on our site, or 60 days on our site. These are the cost patterns. So there are sometimes the less importance to the procurement people, and similarly I think to the speaker as well. So I was only 3 days before. Okay, so okay. Yeah, so the enablers I was talking about is the interesting part. It's just because we need to be open enough. We need to understand that yes, there are patterns, there are avenues open. There are a lot of information available where when we open up and I get into the things, how we move on. That's about the pattern we follow. I would love to answer anything in case maybe later or if now. But then what sort of strategic approach we should follow in sourcing. What is the requirement? What are the key 5 things? So I think this is again not an alien thing for all of us. It is about you have to have a right vendor, right supplier. You have to just make sure that there is the understanding of the material has to be very, very clear, and very, very clear in the sense you really need to understand from the person who has conceptualized that particular design. You need to understand, take some real lesson from him or her to just see that what exactly they need. You have to spend some real good time with them, to the architect team, the project team, to understand that really what is required. Of course, timeline is important. You are not something who will deliver this. Procurement team is basically a coordinator. So you should have a proper representation. Either it has to be to the architect or to the board. Your timelines has to be very specific. Most of the time, it's a pressure situation, and there are undue advantages and compromises. Believe me, you will have to stand up, and as a leader you have to tell that, okay, no, this is what is the minimum requirement, we cannot go beyond those things. And I'm sure people who understand will also appreciate it. The 4th thing is about cost. Yes, any project, when people say that, okay, okay, how do we improve? Maybe any time when you have a problem in the business, the first pressure comes in the cost. Or whatever, if it is design also, they will say, how can we reduce the specification? And how can we reduce the cost? How can we be cheaper, but still the best as well? So I think, but then I would say as a procurement leader, when you are aware about the product, you will take a stance in terms of telling organization, the board, or the person who is approving your check, to say that this is a bare minimum cost because I research it in terms of understanding what exactly the cost which will come to my site. If you are transparent in terms of giving your specification, believe me, you cannot be questioned. You cannot be questioned. So that's saying cost is important, but then understanding cost is more important. And making sure that people understand that cost is the biggest part in terms of delivering the procurement thing. Okay, I've only spoken about the delivery part, which is, of course, you have to, be very, very specific. Yeah. So these are like, the 6, 7 things which you have to keep in mind. The one thing we normally forget about is that, what is the life cycle cost? The certain products, the certain designs, one of the most iconic buildings which have been delivered in NCR or Mumbai, you find after the project team has moved out, it becomes very, very difficult to even clean those facades sometimes. I can give you example with Reliance, when we were sort of launching our retail business 8 years, 10 years before, we bought one of the most, automated machines, the best machine from the world, spent crores of rupees, but then we did not know what will happen if something goes wrong because there was no after sales support in India. So you need to keep those things in mind, so that, so what will be the total cost of ownership? The TCO part is very, very important. So, that's one of the procurement strategy where if you are, if you're having deep pockets, you can, opt for TCO, where if you see the 100 rupees of a cost of any product, only about 47 is about the product cost. And the rest, everything else is about, storing, is about freight, it is about, the maintenance part, inventory holding. So if you literally ask me, that breakup will be about 37% procurement. Maintenance, they will keep it for about 28%. Inventory holding will be 16%. Overheads, people will keep because that will be something which they want to be shock-proof. That will be 12%. And freight and all, freight and all will be almost 7%. So that's a practice in procurement, but then not something which is very prevalently available, used, or advised as well in the market as well. So that was majorly in terms of how we what are the main core 5-6 things in terms of while we are procuring. So I'll come to what sort of challenges we face, common issues we face on the procurement part, and especially when we are delivering bigger projects. We know it's not just one particular project, but then there's something in bulk done. Do we have some procurement people in the crowd room? Do we have some procurement people in the audience? No? No procurement? Okay. So it's better I can say anything that means. Okay. There's no one to corroborate possibly. Okay. Not a best situation always. Okay. So we talk about specific common issues we face. The first issue which is faced here, which we talk about, is about what to stock and how much to stock. In terms of establishing the inventory plan. And this is very, very critical to what we buy, what cost is delivered to us. This is very critical in terms of also, the kind of timelines we will deliver to any project. If it is multi-city, if it is locations, or in the same city otherwise as well. So that's something which needs to be addressed. You need to be very, very clearly aware how you want to do it, what sort of solutions are available with you, what exactly you would like to do in terms of the overall stock transfers and everything, what sort of a system, waybill and everything is available for you in terms of the new registered processes, the new government policies and everything. Then we talk about the inventory turnover and leftover stock, which is again something which is very, very important. Why? Because it is about all those multi-location projects which you are completing has to be very clearly scheduled in a way that you are aware by when all those projects will be reaching. Then specific part is about critical space, and especially to just to have the capital space part as well. So both the things, we see it's again, depends on the kind of supplier who's supporting you. If he has an inventory plan, if he has a warehousing solution available, there could be some benefits to you. But then sometimes you don't get a person or a supplier who is like having an office and or a source to store things in the particular city. So you have to be very, very clearly understand and address that part as well. You also need to understand the proper asset management and inventory management system once it is installed, and that has to be understood from the OEM, the original equipment manufacturer, in terms of the know-how of how the things should happen, and also take those understanding back to the team who are going to maintain it. This is very, very critical part. Reason is the life of a product depends on how you're maintaining it and how effectively you're doing it, how predictive, preventive sort of an initiative you are launching into maintaining those sort of equipment. And some specific business like retail, I think it is more important of how you are maintaining it than possibly how you are buying it. Because one experience, one customer moving out of the store possibly never comes back. So the procurement, has to be that keeping in mind everything has been designed in that way. The other very important aspect we sometimes forget in the procurement is the compliance part. So compliance is something, while there are efforts to kind of streamline it across India level, but then there are still state level requirements. We are sometimes not even aware about how we are moving our stuff. What sort of the percentage on the tax part is available to everyone. So this compliance part has to be very, very specific and has to be addressed. I've seen, the trucks of loads standing, waiting to be cleared for months together because the proper documentation has not been taken place. So that's something which is, you have to keep in mind, that the change process which is there in existence today, then maybe 3 months before or 2 months before. So be aware about the compliance part. So these were like majorly the aspect when we kind of face the challenges we face, and I've kind of taken you through in terms of what sort of a pattern we should follow in having the best of procurement practices. I'm happy to answer if anything specifically you have to kind of ask from me, any specific case which you feel that can be addressed before I kind of close my discussion with everyone. You have? Later on, okay. So, Sanjay says that we take questions later on. So guys, thank you so much for patiently hearing it, and I really feel privileged to be speaking on this specific topic in front of this audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's like